crazy thing too about the Magic, to throw a stat out there, they're the first team, I think they said, in probably forever, actually, I think, to ever not have a winning record and win their division. That's how bad the East was. Now the Magic, they got hit with injuries, so they have a reason for why it happened, how it happened. But on the flip side, looking at it, I think the Magic eke it out. They get this win. It might be one of those that end up being a 10 point, maybe more type of win, because we've been saying it all year. Once they get to the playoffs, I don't know if they'll make a deep run, but the Magic are the better team than the Hawks. Paolo, and you got Franz. Of course, they still got some injuries that they're dealing with, but those two should be able to get over the hump against Atlanta. Should be.
Should be, yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, I think so too. They should be able to do it, and it's going to be at home as well, so you get the home crowd with you and everything. I think they should be able to take care of that one.
On the West Side, with Golden State losing a close game, OT. We'll talk about it later when we talk about awards. We had Draymond getting a stop, DPOY possibly at the end of the game against Kawhi. Kawhi looking healthy, which is scary for the league. James Harden doing his thing, but they end up losing. So now they're in the play-in as a 7th seed going against the 8th seed Grizzlies. How do you see this one going with John Moran, Jaren Jackson Jr. pulling up the Golden State?
Man, this was going to be another tough one that I really can't gauge who's going to win. I know I think in 2020 Grizzlies ended up winning that game in Golden State, which was really good. But man, if it's all contingent upon Jimmy Butler. Looked like he kind of got banged up in this game. They get that couple days of rest. But the way the Grizzlies are playing and Jaren Jackson Jr. trying to, show that he's the real DPOY over Draymond. You got two Spartan dogs going at it. And, that group has been together longer. I know the coaching is going to be one aspect we're going to keep an eye on, in that series. But the way the Grizzlies have played as of late has been pretty solid. Ja has everything, up against him. So he's really going to try to prove a lot of people that he's ready to fight, ready to go. And the Warriors, they played at their optimum level tonight, and then it came at the expense of Jimmy Butler kind of getting hurt. So if I had to pick out of that one, I would say I'll say Memphis. I'll go with Memphis.
Ooh, Memphis. Like you said, I think the X factor really for them is if Jimmy Butler's healthy. We seen it. I think it was last year. He got injured close toward the
Oh
end of the
yeah.
season, and he wasn't able to play in
Hmm.
the playoffs. Jimmy has unlocked something completely different for this team. If Jimmy can't go for that injury, which it looked like a knee to a
Hmm.
thigh, hopefully some ice and some rest, he'll be able to play. He might not be 100%, might not be 90%, because at this point, who really is 100% this part of the season? I might have to, in a one game situation, with how Memphis has been playing. I like the coach that they have with Tomas and the offensive game plan that he has and theology that he's teaching them. In Golden State, I think I'm going to have Golden State winning it. And we'll go into if Memphis actually makes it in with our next couple set of questions. But in tonight's game, I want to ask you about this. Kuminga didn't play. He got a DNP. Thoughts on Kuminga not even touching the floor and probably one of their most important games this season?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I was kind of looking at that when the game was going on, and I know they had GP2 out there, and they were just kind of blowing past him on defense. I know he has a tall vertical jump on rebounds, but they were just jumping over him, getting boards, and he couldn't score. They kind of were playing like 4-on-5 on offense a lot of those possessions toward the end of the game. Not sure why Kaminga wasn't in there. I felt like he could have at least tried to guard Kawhi a little better, or switch off on him or to James just from his length and athleticism in itself. Because you already got Steph and Paz and GP2 out there. And, GP2 is like 6'3", 6'4", just like Steph. There has to be a specific reason as to why, but I guess this is something that we won't know, but maybe he'll get to play in the next game. But he's going to have a lot to prove. But that's Steve Kerr being Steve Kerr. Sometimes there's a lot of methods behind the madness, but just not exactly sure why he didn't go with him in this game.
Very, very interesting to see that. And I'm looking, I'm like, dang, Kuminga not getting in at all. And we mentioned how tough the West has been, though. Before we talk about the games that come in on Wednesday, in the West specifically, more than the East, because we already alluded to how bad the East has been, and it's been really, really, really top heavy. In the West, we already said it. It was game 82 meant a lot to the whole Western Conference outside of the people trying to get Coop. Outside of those teams, does seating really matter, you think, in the Western Conference? Because these number one OKC and Houston Rockets, they not seeing a typical 7-8 seed.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't think so. It hasn't shown that it matters in the last couple of years. Um, I don't know when the last number one seed to get deep into the playoffs really was. You know what I mean? I mean, last year, I think Dallas was fifth, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then the year before that it was Denver, I believe. And, they got kind of further, they were a higher seed that kind of made it to the finals. But as of now, it doesn't seem like seeding matters. I know at least 5-6 years ago, if you were a number one or number two seed, you were a lock to get to the finals, because we saw that so much with Golden State for that tenure. Now it's just up in the air. I mean, even in the East, when Jimmy Butler was there, they were a low seed that got to the finals. The year they went to the bubble, they were like a lower seed that got to the finals again. So it kind of is just anything. Even when the Lakers went to the conference finals a couple of years ago as a 7 seed, I don't think it really matters. Guys are so talented. The game plans are so efficient. The schemes are so good that, it really doesn't matter. And when, even for a team, like if you're playing against the Lakers, they have so many fans, no matter where you're at, it's just going to seem like a home game for them in some arenas. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But to answer your question, I don't think it doesn't seem like it really matters that much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I know some teams probably didn't want certain matchups, but they're pros, so I don't think anybody's like really trying to duck smoke out here. Coaches are like, hey, let's lose purposely to get this matchup, because it's not like previous years where a number one seed will see an 8th seed and it'd be 4-0 sweep. Those days, at least in the West, are completely gone. 8th seed, you might sweep them, but it's going to be a hard 4 games. And you were right. Last year, I looked it up for you. The Mavericks were the 5th seed, made it to the finals. On the flip side, also almost getting to the finals. In the Eastern Conference Finals was a 6th seed Pacers. So even on both sides, once the playoffs come, especially where you look at the Pacers, I hear Knicks fans now, injuries happen. A bunch of different things could happen. It's a whole brand new season. Playoffs come,
It is.
whole new season. Pressure is different. You gotta be concerned. Oh, is this player going to step up? Is the youth going to have an issue, which we will talk later about OKC? It's a lot of different factors that come into play when you talk about playoff basketball, which is going to be extremely exciting. On Wednesday, we got the 9 and the 10 seeds in the East. The 9th seed Bulls, who kind of caught fire at the end of the season, but it was a little too late to move up in the standings. And then you have the Miami Heat, which I'm going to give a little Blues clues of what's coming forward. That's one of my teams that I'm disappointed in how they played this year. But do you see them at least getting that first win to be able to play on Friday?
I probably got Chicago in that one. Losing a heartbreaker like they did today was going to be tough. They don't have that closer, I guess you can say. And with the Bulls, they're playing with house money. They were in this position last year where they kind of were able to make a little bit of a run in the play-in with Kobe White and all the other guys. Now with Josh Giddey too. So I think I got the Bulls winning that one. And they're at home as well. So that should help out a lot. They got the momentum. They typically peak around this time of the year. I don't know if it's because they have so many guys who play college ball like in March and April, like with March Madness. So for some reason, a lot of these guys just start playing hard. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Chicago in that one.
I'm rolling with Chicago in that one too. Miami Start your vacation early, book the flights, whether you're going to Mykonos, whether you're going to Australia, Santorini, France, wherever you going, I'd be booking it right now. If I was
Yeah,
really them, of course you don't have this mentality, but once y'all traded Jimmy, it hasn't been working out. I would have had the vacation booked a couple months ago. I'm frugal, so I like to save money. Even if I was a millionaire like them, let me book it 2 months in advance. I get
right, right,
insurance on
right.
it in case we start winning. I'll get insurance on it, and then I can push it back. But Miami, y'all wasn't doing nothing this year. Even
Nah.
if they beat the Bulls, it's nothing happening right there. The next one, the Kings, they've been playing pretty good as of late. Zach LaVine has been on a heater to end off the season versus the 10 seed Mavs, who injuries hit them like crazy, but it's one game. AD might go bananas. How do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, that one's gonna be one of the tougher ones. I do like the fact of having AD in a a win now game, just having him on the court. Uh, I mean, he almost had a quadruple double the other day. Like, that just shows you how effective he is. And when he does play, he means a lot to their team. But Sacramento, it might be a little bit too much for them to overcome because they have so many more weapons that they can use. Obviously, you still got Debo, and you got Malik Monk, and you got guys like that who can still just get hot and turn up. I don't think that the Mavericks really have anything that they can guard that. But and they still have Sabonis too, so AD's going to have his hands full. We all know AD's historic record against Sabonis, which isn't the best when he was a Laker, but maybe it could be different now that he's a Maverick. Who knows? But I think it's just going to be a talent thing, execution wise. How's that's going to go? The Kings, they ride or die for Doug Christie. They play well for him. So I am interested in seeing Doug Christie go against Jason Kidd, which is kind of funny just to think like 20 years ago, these guys used to just go at it on the court. Now here they are coaching against each other. But I'm gonna roll with Sacramento and now in that 9-10 matchup.
I'm rocking with you, Sacramento. Sacramento wins it. I don't think they have enough guard play to go get buckets to help AD out. So I think that's the end of their season, but that's a team to look out for next year. Kyrie coming back healthy, AD. If the team stays as is, some things could be shaken up this off season when you got Nico Harrison at the helm as well. We might see we might see some changes going on with that right there. So looking at it for you, right? Who ends up being you have because of course once the ninth and the 10th team when they play the loser of the 7th, 8th seed game. Ultimately for you, who's the 7th and the 8th seed in the East? Who's the 7th and the 8th seed in the West?
All right, so I'm gonna go. Well, I already had Memphis winning, so I'm gonna go 2-7. That's gonna be Houston and Memphis, and then 1-8. I'll say Oklahoma and Golden State.
Oof, that's a good one. And on the East side, how you got it set up?
Then I'm gonna have it's gonna be Boston against Orlando, and then I'll probably have uh Hawks Bulls. That would be that playing for 8. That's a tough one. Uh, if it's Hawks Bulls, I'll probably go Hawks. I kind of like what they gotta have going on in that matchup. I think it's maybe like their second time playing against them in this kind of same scenario. I think Chicago was able to kind of handle it. I forget, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with them. I'm gonna get the Hawks to get the AFC to go against the Cavaliers.
Yeah. On that side, the Cavs see the Hawks. Trae Young might get you one game. Trae Young could get you one game.
He did it against Boston, bro. Like that's what I'm saying.
He could get you one game. It could be one of those 30 and 18 assist games that you see from Trae Young. Will anybody else show up
Mhm.
to the party to get more than one game? I don't know. If they had Jalen Johnson, I think that'd be a good conversation. But he got injured as well. There was a lot of injuries this season. Speedy recovery for him because I'm looking forward to
Mhm.
Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, that duo right there. Looking at the bracket as is, maybe you have it as one of your favorite intriguing matchups, but what's your most intriguing matchup from that first round on the East side?
So first round in the East, probably the Knicks in Detroit. That one is so
Ah,
interesting to me. It's very appealing. You know what I mean? We're gonna see Cade. He gets thrown in the fire early. We're gonna see the two-way player that everyone's been talking about all season long. And a lot of the people that didn't watch the Pistons this year, they're about to get put on notice. You know, what a coming out party. And they're gonna let everybody know this is what we got. I'm interested in seeing how they treat Isaiah Stewart in the Garden, how that goes, with him and Josh Hart maybe getting into it. Those are both the emotional leaders for their respective teams. So yeah, that one's interesting. I would say the second interesting one would be Milwaukee and the Pacers. I know they played against each other last year and they're flopped around this, or I think that was 3-6 last year, but that are different. But with Dame's health being in question, it's kind of hard to, pick Milwaukee to win that series, and they're going to be starting off 2 games on the road. Giannis' numbers are going to look ridiculous, but I think it's just going to come down to them not having Dame. And even if Dame comes back, what type of Dame are you getting, right? We don't know. He hasn't played in close to a month. So we're going to be that's the second interesting one, I would say. But yeah, the Knicks and the Pistons, I want to see that.
That one I had circled on mine right there too. That was going to be my pick. Knicks, Pistons. I was wrong. I had the Pistons moving up to the 4th seed, but the Bucks handled their business staying there. Indiana went on a little run in the second half as well the last couple of weeks. So they knocked the 4th seed, but I am very intrigued to see that because the Knicks has some question marks of who else is going to step up offensively outside of Jalen Brunson on a consistent basis. Detroit, I love what they did this season. Malik Beasley off the bench was second in 3-pointers made. Anthony Edwards, of course, had to go ruin that. He went and shot 18 threes today. So he said I needed to get that record. So he put him up and he got the record. But that's still a crazy season to do that off the bench for Malik Beasley. Off the bench. That part was kind of wild on that for him.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, you mentioned too, Indiana, Milwaukee. I think the way Giannis has been playing, if it wasn't for obviously a season that was historic from SGA and Jokic, it would be a 3-man race for MVP. I think they get their lick back and they somehow, Giannis, this is just a series, he carries them, gets it done. Of course, it's no Dame, but if there's any indication today how them jokers was shooting, if they shooting like that, it's going to be a high powered. It'll be probably the most exciting on the East side. We're going to see games, playoffs, everything go down, defense. That series, we might see 120, 125.
Yeah, for sure.
We might see those type of games. And like you said, that means we're going to see Giannis have crazy numbers. Crazy numbers. So
good fantasy pickup if you playing.
Good. I think they get it done. I think Giannis gets his lick back. Next round, we'll address next round when next round happens. We'll have you back on and see what happens. But
yeah, for sure.
Got that. On the West side, most intriguing first round matchup.
This one's going to be the tough one because, I mean, I know the cheating answer is to say all of them, but even Minnesota and the Lakers, that's interesting. If it's, the Nuggets and the Clippers, like those can all kind of swing either way, especially 4 or 5. Usually those are more the even teams, 4 or 5. And if Memphis plays against Houston, Houston hasn't been there before, right? Memphis has, but it's all about the ancillary guys, the guys on the outside who are the second, third, and fourth best players in the series. Those things are going to play dividends in that matchup. But I would probably have to go with the Nuggets and the Clippers series. That one's going to be extremely interesting.
Speaking of Clippers, we've been talking about it on threads. Shout out to Evan. Shout out to Aaron. The Clippers, I think, are one of those dark horse teams that, hey, Kawhi healthy is really scary for the league. For me, it's a video dropping later this week for those that's locked in. That's one of the biggest what ifs to me as well. If Kawhi never got injured, crazy, one of the best two-way players of all time. What do you think about the Clippers and their chances coming into the playoffs with a healthy Kawhi and Harden, how he's been playing, and Norman Powell and Zubac, which some have as most improved, some have him as DPOY.
You know, that one's going to be, they're one of the, again, like the sleeper team, right? Like just the way that they're going to play, how well they're coached. They have every position that they need filled. Those things are going to pay so much dividends, like in the playoffs. And we have an elite shot maker in Kawhi, and you have someone like Bogdan off the bench who's not scared to hit a big shot, and then you also have Norman Powell who's ready to take big shots as well. And then you add in James Harden who's going to create, and then Big Zoo. You know, he's just a lob threat. He's a double machine. He's almost doing like 20 and 20s on a nightly basis, or even getting close to it. And that's hard to guard in the playoffs. And they're road warriors. And then you can't forget they have a new arena. So you already know Steve Ballmer and crew want to do something with that wall to kind of get the fans going. Because if I'm not mistaken, they started off 0-4 at home. And everyone's like, I don't know if that wall is really working. And then after that, they only lost a couple of games the rest of the season. So it does work because no other arena has that type of atmosphere, you know, with fans fully engaged like that. So, yeah, the Clippers, I feel like, and where they're at in their bracket, as far as the playoff bracket, they would play whoever wins out of 1 and 8. So that would be an interesting matchup too. So again, if the same things, if they hit their stride at the right time, they can find themselves in the conference finals if they're able to take out Oklahoma. You know what I mean? Because they have the length, they have defenders, and you know, Joker and Zubac. Not saying Zubac is on that level, but I mean, they're just gonna have to throw a lot of bodies and different looks at him. So they kind of have the pieces to do that. But yeah, the Clippers, I feel like if all goes well and you know there's health isn't an issue, I feel like they can get to the conference finals. Honestly,
Hey, Clippers see OKC the next round. This is just how tough the West is. That's a tough second round to have to see. You gotta see. You gotta see that man Kawhi. You
got to.
gotta see that man Kawhi. Ty Lue as a coach. And you got James Harden how he's playing and Zubac. That'll be a tough series. Outside of obviously OKC, and you just mentioned the Clippers, who do you see as actual contenders in the West? And then on the flip side, the contenders in the East?
Contenders in the West, probably the Thunder and the Lakers. You know, I feel like those are the probably two more formidable ones where you could clearly see it. You know, the Lakers have had 3 different teams this year, and they've been able to still get 50 games with a rookie head coach. But it's hard to discount what we've seen so far in the sample size with LeBron and Luka about how you can guard that. And in the East, it's just Boston. Like that's the only. It's kind of hard for me to pick someone else, but it's just them. It's theirs to lose in the East. I know Jaylen Brown has had some knee uh injuries a little bit, nothing too serious, but like a bone bruise, if I'm not mistaken, and he has to been getting some injections or getting some work done on it. So, but if he's not healthy or 100% to go, then that's going to be something to keep in mind where another team could kind of sneak in there and kind of see. But and again, where they're based at in the seedings, being on the lower part of the bracket, they would play either New York or Detroit in the second round. So that would be interesting to see. But yeah, I got Boston. It's theirs to lose out east.
Yeah, if they see New York in that second round, they good. New York don't beat the Knicks ain't beat no
No.
they ain't beat none of the good teams this year. Cavs, the Celtics, and OKC, I think they 0-10 against this season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nasty work.
Yeah.
Nasty work.
You're not real. You're not a real contender if you can't get wins in big games for
At least
against multiple
one.
teams.
At,
And you at the Garden. You know what I mean? So what? That's what
they
we
came
hear,
in
right? That's what he
they
told us.
came in your trap and took over. They came in your trap and took it over. So it'd be
Right.
interesting too if OKC does make it to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
how they fare, because I think they have the record this season for best interconference record. They've only
Yeah.
lost one game against the East, which hasn't happened, even with the Lakers and their dominance that year with Kobe and Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
They only lost one game to the Eastern Conference. So by all stats and what they did this historic season, like it's a lot of stuff with OKC this season. They
Yeah.
should be in the finals. If they get there, it is going to be interesting how it pans out. Recapping this season, So it's a lot of basketball, a lot of good games, a lot of good plays that's happened. Starting off with the games, what were your favorite games this season?
Man, there's so many, but the typical answer that stands out, the Luca game, going back to Dallas, that was probably one of the most unique games I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen an opposing crowd, and I say opposing like this, really be so into it for the away player, which, kind of, 45 points, almost a triple double. Like it's just that was amazing. That was good. Being emotional like that, that was very moving to kind of see how he was still able to play and how his whole team galvanized and was around him and stood by him. That was good. I even liked the Joker's 60-point triple double. That was a good game. I mean, I hated the way it ended, but it was still a good one. You can even chalk up to the game that we had with the Clippers and Warriors. Another one. Another low key one that was good was just, I think it was earlier this week with the Celtics and the Knicks. That was really good. Jason Tatum was really showing like, I got it like that. Like, you know what I mean? In the Garden too. Didn't have his running mate with him, but he was showing, the full repertoire was on display. So I would just say those couple of games that kind of stand out to me in like these later parts of the year. But I know there were some good ones before then, but after the Luka trade, everything just kind of changed after that. It's like almost 2 seasons in one wrapped up.
Hey, Adam Silver, he's loving that trade happened. Like you said, it's basically 2 seasons in one. He's
Yeah.
loving game 82. We all was locked in, even on some of the Eastern Conference games. Like for those that's like some basketball junkies, like I said, I was locked in on the Bucks game. Like, oh shoot, Cool started off crazy hot too.
Yeah, he did.
Cool, if Cools could play anywhere near a formidable 2 for Giannis, I think that gives him a shot also in that series against the Pacers. What
Yeah.
Cool do you get when it come to playoff time? Because he ain't seen the playoffs in a little bit. So
Yeah, since like 2021, I think.
yeah, it's been a little bit. He got the
Yeah, it's been
experience,
a
but
minute. Yeah.
how he plays his first time being back in the playoffs, I think is going to be huge for the Bucks. I'll throw a game out there too for one of my favorite games. Let's take it back to Christmas. New
Ooh,
York
yeah.
Knicks with the San Antonio Spurs. That game where
Mhm.
Mikal Bridges quieted the haters just for a night. Like, I
Mhm.
still got it. He dropped, I think, 41-point game, which he reigned on Wemby's first Christmas game, and Wemby did not disappoint. I'm gonna read the stat line real quick. Wemby that game also ended up going for 42, 18, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. God dang.
Man,
God.
it's like NBA street numbers. That's like what my player does on 2K, when you get the mods right and stuff like that. That's what that type of game style is. That's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Yo, I thought another stat from Wemby that's crazy. We all know he got injured. We know he still led the league in total blocks. And the
Did he
closest person,
really?
yes, the closest person to him was where he at? Where he at? Lopez. Lopez was still like 30, 32 blocks behind him. This man got injured and still led the league in blocks.
That's crazy. That just shows you right there, man. What he bout. It's money time. That's crazy.
Still led the league in blocks. And if he didn't get injured, he would have had the highest blocks per game. And I think in
Oh
the last
yeah.
like 40 years, nobody's had that
Oh
many.
yeah.
Some crazy stat like that. To be injured and not finish out the season after the All-Star break and you still lead the league in blocks, what would he had if he played the rest of the season? How many blocks?
3,000 blocks, about 3,000.
How many blocks would this man have had? That crazy.
Man.
Another
Yeah,
game,
that's
we mentioned
ridiculous.
the top 2 teams, West and the East, Cavs and OKC when they met. OKC, I think, had that 15-game winning streak. Cavs on a
Mhm.
12-game winning streak, and it didn't disappoint. Sometimes we see those teams that are good on both conferences. They come together and it's a blowout. Nah, I
Yeah.
think it was only a 125 to 122 game. Cavs pull it
Mhm.
out, and they kept their winning streak going. It was 13, and then
Mhm.
OKC stopped. And Cavs, they had what, 3 winning streaks of at least 12 games in the
Yeah.
same season.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued also to see what they do come playoff time, because that's a team is great. Hand clap. What y'all do in the playoffs is the only thing that really matters with the Cavs.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters for them. Is it championship or bust for the Cavs, or do they at least need to just make a deep run?
I think they'll make a deep run, and I think that'll be fine. I know they have championship aspirations, but I don't think really anyone. I hate to say they don't take them serious enough because you don't go on those type of win streaks and play that good in the regular season if you're not a contender at all, right? And I love the addition of DeAndre Hunter. I know they got Ty Jerome and different guys like that, Max Strus. They all play well together. And then it's hard to count out Darius and Donovan and the way that they play. You got Mobley, you got Allen. So they have all the weapons. They're great. They're coached by Coach Atkinson, a first-year coach with them as well. But I think they're gonna be all right. I think it's just what do they look like when they hit adversity in the playoffs, right? What happens when that three-pointer doesn't fall down when you need it, when it's a swing game, right? Like it's a game 5 or a game 6, and you need to close out the game. What does that look like, right? I think those things probably are gonna be the biggest thing to pay attention to. Donovan, his numbers are always going to look good. He's going to flourish in any role. He deserves a lot more credit. But it's going to be all the others in that series, I think, and how he can, in effect, make them better.
One of the previous episodes that you was on, I asked you, Evan Mobley or Jaren Jackson Jr. Now that the season is over, do you change your answer? Or are you going with the same answer?
No, I'm gonna roll with the same answer, man. I think I roll with Evan Mobley. I'm gonna roll with him. So I'm gonna keep it on lock like that. He showed out this year. He's able to be unlocked a lot more. And I think that was something I kind of had alluded to. Like, I want to see how he would look in this system because he has so much game. He puts in the work and he's taking that leap forward. So yeah, I kind of like. I still like Evan Mobley in that, even though the defensive ways, I'll put that with Jaren Jackson, but he doesn't have to do as much on defense because he has Jared Allen. So. Yeah,
that is facts right there. Looking at some of the best plays that happened this season, I'll throw one out and then I'm gonna pass the ball on your court because you might choose this one, you might not. I don't know, but I'll go with this one. The Trae Young 50-footer buzzer beating winning shot. That to me was one of the best plays this year. You thought the game was over. It's a heave. Anytime we see those where it's like, all right, they just throwing it up. 9 times out of 10, we'd be like, all right, you turn the TV off. That's the game. No, that hit the bottom of the net, swoosh against the Jazz. And that was actually funny enough. Some people didn't, if you weren't tapped in, some people didn't pay attention to it because that was the same night that the Cavs played the OKC. So on that same night, this is how great the season was. We got the Cavs and OKC, and you got a 50-foot buzzer beater winning shot by Trae Young in the same night. For you, what are some of your memorable favorite plays from this extremely long, exciting season?
I would have to say those layups that Ja did in Brooklyn, the 360 layups. He's spinning against the grain, and then he had one, and then he had another one. Even his dunk that he had in Boston after he declared he wasn't going to dunk anymore, and then he was able to do that. I'm thinking of Josh Giddey's game-winning three-pointer against the Lakers. That was fantastic. LeBron's dunk in Dallas, the switch hands, you went up with this way and he came back with the other one and yammed it. That's probably one of his best dunks that he's had in his career when you kind of look at it. But yeah, I would say those are the ones that kind of stand out to me right away, like those plays right there. They're phenomenal.
I know NBA Threads would love this one because NBA Threads as a whole, as a community, are not big fans of Rudy Gobert. The Christian Brown dunk on Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh,
that was a good one.
Oh yeah,
that was good. And then also too, to add as another B-sides, pretty much every Ant poster dunk that he gets. I mean, stuff like that. It's just amazing.
He had a couple of them this season.
Great commercials too that came out. Great ads that were posted right after as well. Those were good. I like those.
Adidas is killing it with Ant. That marketing team is killing it with Ant.
Yeah.
This year, Adidas and Jordan commercials, I feel, have been out of this world. They've been killing NBA, the W. Nike been, of course, doing they always doing their thing, but specifically those Ant-Man commercials, that's giving me those 90s, early 2000s vibes where people actually put in that effort to be like, all right, we're gonna have a commercial, have a little mini movie to go with. Like, a whole thing and talking everything, like from the first one where Ant was like, "Yeah, I got receipts. I got the receipts."
Oh yeah, that was a good one. I bet another underrated one I liked was when KD had the 30,000 points. You know, they
Mhm.
had the OJ's track playing in the back, just the money counter stuff coming up. That was smooth. You know what? Let's just put that. Let's get that up there. That was solid. I like that one a lot.
They've been killing it this year regarding
Shout out to all the
marketing.
advertising. Shout out to all those guys, man, working
Shout out
hard.
to
All
them.
those creatives.
And I don't have no problem saying it. I'm a Lakers fan, but shout out again, another great season. The Celtics social media team,
Oh yeah.
superb. And we saw it this season. Some teams copying a sauce. The Celtics social media team, give them every award possible. They
Yeah.
need raises. And I know some people that work for social medias for the NBA teams, they do not get paid correctly.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Celtics, though, they need raise. They give them all the insurance, they need full benefits, everything. That Celtics, I can't speak for other teams, but that Celtics team, they need full benefits.
For
Looking
sure.
back on some takes from this season, you picked Phoenix to miss the playoffs, and you were right for picking Phoenix missing the playoffs. I know this kind of probably mixes in with disappointing teams this season. But speaking on Phoenix, where did it go from here? And what did you see this season? Like, you picked them to not make it, but still, like, how it happened was they didn't seem like they had any fight towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. And a lot of it was just roster makeup and construction. They kind of reminded me a bit of I think it was the 2022 Lakers when they had LeBron, Russ, and AD, I think kind of going in to that season. And they added Carmelo and all these other pieces and stuff that just really didn't fit. And I just think the Bradley Beal situation, it just didn't work out. But I know he gets like piled on a lot, but shout out to him for always being a professional, showing up every day. He never not once complained. He always was trying to be a good teammate. You know, whatever it is, it is. You know, he was asked to do things that were out of his realm of his game style. And you had a bit of duplication with him and Book. And, you know, his contract doesn't look the best now, especially for what transpired this season with him being injured and stuff like that. You know, KD is going to be KD. You know, he still had a great, efficient year. I did think about like Book. He had a pretty much a Book type of year, but then a little bit disappointing on some ends. You know, I feel like the Olympics, like they mentioned, could have kind of changed his mind a little bit, like with his role and what he was. They didn't have to be as aggressive, but they kind of needed that. And then, you know, this is their third coach in as many years, and now they're more than likely heading into a fourth coach. And then you get all the social media and all that other speculation that comes in. And I think it was just a recipe for disaster. And if you see, this is why you don't be too top heavy in the league now, as we've seen, because if one of your star guys gets injured, who's going to fill that role? You know, they've had some good signings with some of their rookies that they were able to add. You know, they're going to get better this offseason, like Ryan Dunn and some of their other guys. But yeah, it's just a poor roster. It wasn't made up with a lot of, wasn't, I don't know. It just wasn't made up with the right basketball pieces and it fits in mind. So hopefully moving forward, I know they're trying to say KD might move and you know Brad might go here or people trying to get rid of D Book. Like I think everyone's just kind of in their feelings and just need to take a summer, figure it out, see what goes on. But yeah, if it does make sense for them to move off of Bradley Beal, that probably will make the most sense if he's willing to, you know, waive his no trade clause and kind of work out something to go somewhere where he has a more magnified role in an offense. And you know, kind of like with Russ when he went to the Clippers, it was a little bit more magnified, and then he ended up going to the Nuggets, and it worked out for him. So you kind of see how playing for a big market team or a team with aspirations like that can kind of go left for you, especially if you're not in the right position. But yeah, you could just tell. You know, I know they started like 8-1, and then KD got hurt, and then I know D Book kind of alluded to that. He was like, you know, our schedule was soft, which is the reason why. You know, then you kind of get guys not playing for each other. But yeah, it's just every big name superstar in the league has had their time to miss the playoffs. LeBron has done it. This is just KD's turn now. You know, Steph did it a couple years ago. Even last season, they didn't make it. So it's like that. But, you know, when KD don't make it, it's always a bigger deal for some reason. But, you know, but yeah, just a poor roster that was put together.
Interesting, too, also mention the Bradley Beal thing because their summer is going to be very interesting. because Brad, by all accounts, article came out yesterday, reports he wants to stay in Phoenix. If he wants to stay in Phoenix, somebody gonna have to go. We've seen it for a season. Yes, Katie got injured here and there, but D Book alluded to it. The beginning of that season was a very soft schedule. I don't think this works. I don't think it could work. Maybe you get a new coach in there and you could try to convince me it's a new formula. We're gonna run it this way. We're gonna have Bill coming off of bend down screens. We're gonna have Katie with ghost screen. What maybe you could convince me with one of those, off-season press conferences and everybody's happy and hyped. But somebody has to move. If it's not Bill and he's not willing to waive that trade clause and he wants to stay, maybe they just got to outright cut him. Something they can't run it back with this roster. They can't.
Yeah.
They cannot run it back with this roster. One of your other takes, and it got engagement. It got people talking. You talked about Houston trade deadline. You said they shouldn't trade their players. It was conversation. They were saying, people was like, they got too many players. There's too many guards on the roster. They need to make moves. Go get a veteran. They end up with the number 2 seed. Thoughts on the Houston Rockets season, how it panned out. Number 2 seed seemed like they made the right move, staying put during the trade deadline.
Well, yeah, no, first of all, I know ball. You see, I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna put that out there. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, I mean, again, there's no reason to change anything if it doesn't need to be. They, like I mentioned when I said that back then, they have those guys that they drafted. You get your free agent and you get your other guys on that second or third year contract. Guys play hard. They play hard for each other. They play together. And, it's no pressure for them to win. Now, they overperformed. I think at the time they were kind of toward the bottom or the middle of the pack in the playoffs. So I was like, if they win a game in the playoffs, that'd be good, or a play in. But I didn't expect them to be so high up. They really start to turn the corner a little bit after All-Star break and remain consistent. Again, you don't win games that many times or those different styles without being as a good team, because winning is hard in this league, like just to get a win on a nightly basis. And when you can put those together consecutively or consistently, at least, that shows something. So they found a formula that works for them. Sure, could they be a piece away? Absolutely. But why not just develop what you have, go into the summer, add if you need to, but they're built for the playoffs. So their thing is going to be determined on how their offseason goes, depending on what happens to them in the playoffs, I think.
Looking at on the flip side, that really, really good season for Houston. On the flip side, though, most disappointed season from teams and players that come to your mind. I'll start off with, I think, one that we both would have on the list that we would throw out there that anybody watching would agree, would say the Philadelphia 76ers, Paul George, Joel Embiid. Let's get those 3 out of the way. They going to have a busy offseason trying to figure out what they need to do, bring back Paul, what to do with Embiid, having the surgery. Whole lot of questions for them to figure out in the offseason, but it was very disappointing. And for me specifically, I got no problem saying I was wrong. I had them going deep in the playoffs. They don't even make the playoffs and could possibly end up drafting Cooper Flag. I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought I fell for it. It looked good on paper. They should be able to figure it out. Paul George had a pretty good season in LA with the Clippers. He should be able to help carry the weight with Tyrese. It didn't happen. For you, who comes to mind disappointed seasons from teams and players?
Yeah, I gotta go with Philadelphia. That's one of the main ones. Even Charlotte, I wasn't expecting too much out of them, but having Coach Lee, guy who's came from Milwaukee, played hard, a player's coach, and not too much on him, but even like LaMelo, like just the development. I want to see him take that next leap forward in just that roster in general, just to see if they could, kind of be where the Bulls are at. Even if you're a couple games under 500 or so, you can still make some noise and still compete for a playoff spot. But just the way that they play, their style of basketball just isn't the best right now. So they're going to need to change up a lot of things. But, hopefully that offseason breeds that. But I would say the Sixers, the Hornets, the Suns, even. Yeah, those are like the main ones that come to mind. Everyone else kind of fell into place a little bit. I probably am forgetting somebody, but those ones are like the first ones that pop into my mind.
I had all of those on my list as well, and I threw Miami in the mix, even though they're in the
Oh
play-in.
yeah.
Miami, every year is like, all right, he culture. They turn it on at some point and never got the heat. Didn't get turned on. Somebody didn't pay the bill. The Heat was not turning on at all this season. Even how they ended off today, very bad loss. I don't see much from them. They got some questions to answer in this offseason. You mentioned Charlotte, they was on my list. I want to ask this, right? It's not on the docket, but ball, and I've been asking anybody that's on the show, where do you think is the best fit for Cooper Flag if he does come out? Because now it's conversations he might stay for that 10, 15 mil NIL over in Duke.
Man, that would be crazy if he did stay. A lot of teams would be really sad, I'll tell you that much. But I mean, with the bottom tier teams like that, it's Washington. Pairing him up with Jordan Poole wouldn't be a bad mix. You know what I mean? And the other young fella out there. Utah, I know it gets mentioned a lot as well. If I had to pick, I would probably say I would like to see him in Washington. I think that'll be a nice little mix out there that they could have. You know what I mean? Just kind of like those play styles. Get Chocolate City back booming again. You know what I mean? Get the fans locked in and engaged because they already have Larry marketing. Unless you want to move off of him or you want to pair them together if he gets drafted by Utah. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But I think I would like him in Washington if he was able to get down over there.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you think Coop comes out or he stays in Duke?
I think he's gonna come out. Yeah, because you don't want to risk getting hurt and then dropping, and you lost a heartbreaker. Maybe you might want to get his get back. Who knows? But if the NBA is right there and you're going to be consistent, number one, you got to go for it. You don't know what's going to happen between now and you're going to get paid. You already got endorsement deals. You got the shoes. You got all that. I know 10, 15 mil is a lot of money, but you're going to make way more than that when you get to the league, and that's what I'm sure his goal is. So, yeah, I would say he comes out and enters into the draft. The league needs it too. So just in case they got to put that phone call in for him to come in, they're going to have to sweeten the offer for him.
I think Coop leaves. I think it's a situation, tough loss for how the season end. He misses the game-winning possible shot. So, of course, it's a lot of emotions going on. But he did say he's going to take a month off. I think within that month, whoever in his inner circle will be like, hey, boy, you going to be the number one overall pick. Next year, that's not guaranteed with some of the talent coming in. You'll be guaranteed number one overall pick. Go this year. It's fine. Some of the greatest players didn't win a national title. You are considered consensus best player this year in college. So you'll go down still in history as one of the best players, one of the best individual seasons, one of the best players to ever play at Duke. You'll still have that recognition. You'll still have that notoriety. It's tough, but go to the league and go get you a championship in the league. That'll be your next biggest goal. Go do that. It's different versus the WNBA. Olivia Miles, I think she did the right thing. Y'all go handle y'all business. Do that renegotiation of the CBA. Y'all fix the money. I'll see y'all next year. Cool. But NBA wise, you good, cool. They gonna take care of you.
Oh yeah, he gonna be taken care of for sure. For sure.
They not renegotiating nothing. You gonna make your money. Don't worry about the NIL. You gonna make a bazooka more money when you come over to the league. So just take your time, take your month off, get through your emotions, and then realize, nah, we going to the league. NBA awards, rookie of the year for you.
Steph Castle.
No disagreement there. Steph Castle for me. DPOY, that is an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Draymond's been, of course, on his pod. I should win it. I've heard Evan Mobley. If Victor doesn't get hurt, Victor is winning it by landslide, but he obviously is hurt. Who wins it?
And even guard-wise, I could pick Dyson Daniels. I'm gonna go with Jaren Jackson. I think he might get this one again. You know, he's proven it. He's shown it. Not to say the other guys haven't, but I think a lot of guys are lobbying for that. I don't think I've seen this much lobbying for DPOY in a very long time. So Draymond has his, but for him to still compete at a high level to even be mentioned at this point in his career is phenomenal. We saw evidence of it today, how good he is on defense. But I think, I'll probably say Triple J.
I think Draymond gets it with all of the lobbying. I think all the lobbying is happening because they know a healthy Victor, you're not sniffing a DPOY for a
Yeah,
while. You're gonna
yeah, that
have to
might
have
be
a
it.
you're gonna have to
You're
have a
right.
crazy season, specifically like you said, Draymond. This might be your best chance left.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
saying that he got to retire next year and none of that
Yeah,
crazy
no.
talk. But when you have a Victor Wembanyama who got injured and still led the league in blocks, yeah, this is y'all best chance. Lobby away.
Yeah.
Lobby away. Y'all need to have flyers. Y'all need to have billboards because a healthy Wemby, y'all not getting it. He got
Nah,
that
not at
locked
all.
up. He got that locked up for at least the next thing. Yes, you can forget. You can forget about it. It's nothing to talk
Facts.
about. So
Facts.
I understand the lobbying. On to the next one. Most improved. I'm with my boy Rush. I'm going with AR-15.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did see that discourse going on. I like that a lot. I mean, again, most improved shouldn't be lottery picks. It shouldn't be guys who can be potential all-star. Like you have to have been, lower pick, got traded, or whatever the case is, right? But if I had to pick, I would say Ivica Zubac. I would say I'll get him for most improved. I think that's who I
Hey,
got.
I wouldn't be mad if Zoo got it. It does hurt that the Lakers traded Mans, but I'm glad he out here living his life.
Shout out Mike
Balling.
Muscala and Reggie Bullock.
He doing his thing. So shout out to him. Coach of the year, who you got?
This is another tough one. I think if they're gonna kind of go based off of record and everything, probably Kenny Atkinson. I know Mark Dagnall. I think he won already, so you can't
Yeah.
pick him again. Yeah. Then JJ would have been second, and then actually, I would have Ime as second, and then JJ. But to Kenny and Ime's credit, they were able to have the same relative team the entire time. I know Kenny, he isn't a first-year NBA coach, but he's a first-year coach with this specific group. And, they've played phenomenal under him. But, like I mentioned earlier, JJ, they've had 3 different teams. Yes, I mean, like they say, not bad for a podcaster, right? It just kind of shows you he knows what he's talking about. So, yeah, for them to get 50 wins out of that roster, yeah, that was amazing. But yeah, I would say Kenny Atkinson probably gets that one.
I'm a girl with JB Bickerstaff, the turnaround that the Pistons had. Granted, it didn't produce top 4 like I predicted, but still that 30 win turnaround.
It's huge.
That's huge. And you got like a Cade balling. Jaden Ivey was balling before he got hurt. There was question marks.
Yeah.
Question marks going into the season about Ivy. Could Ivy work with Cunningham? All of that was answered before the injury. Malik Beasley having a career year. Bunch of different.
Dennis Schroeder getting added over there.
Schroeder, that's a big pickup.
Yeah, it's a big pickup.
Tobias Harris, Hardaway Jr. Surrounding Cunningham with vets and shooting. They did their thing, but that's another team, different from the losing squads. They got some questions to answer. Do you bring back Beasley? At what price tag do you bring him back? Tobias, Hardaway Jr. Do you decide maybe let's go get another big option? Do y'all keep Beef Stew, trade him? It's a couple things because all right, y'all made it to the 6th seed. Don't get comfortable. Y'all got what's next? They might beat next first round. But what's next after that? Like, how can we continue to get better and make sure that we're back here? Versus you see teams like Minnesota, you have a good year and it's like, oh, we made a deep run, and then now you're in the play-in. I see my Lakers completely different.
They didn't it's real different.
Almost
right.
Playing. Yeah, 6th man of the year.
6th man. Ooh, I had Norman Powell earlier before he got hurt, but I'm gonna go with Peyton Pritchard.
No disagreement.
Yeah, P squared.
Bad man over there. Forever, forever. He good in Boston for the rest of his life. Off of
Rest of his life.
this one season, he good off the rest
Just the
of
second most
his life.
popular PP outside of Paul Pierce to ever play in Boston.
All right, clutch play of the year. I'm all right. You already know. I'm sure you saw the video. I'm going with JB over in New York, but
Yeah.
I've seen people have Nikola and SGA as options.
Yeah. If I had to pick out of that one, I think because Brunson got hurt and that him missing that time kind of took away from him just a little bit, but that's who was my leader. But I'm gonna roll with SGA on that one.
Another guy to point out how crazy of a season he was having. With the injury, he still is second in total points for clutch minutes, which is crazy. To get injured and you still is top two, he was out here. That's the Knicks offense. That's the clutch moments. JB put on the cape, put on the S, and take us home. So JB, exactly. Injured, still be top two right there. We got the last one that's left. I think I know your answer based off of what you just said, but I'm gonna ask just for the people to hear you say it. Yeah, MVP.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's got it. And it keeps the international theme going, right? He's Canadian. He's not American. Last one to win was 2018 with James Harden, last American-born player. So since then, we've Giannis, Joker, Joel, Joker. So yeah, I think we should be good.
I said it on a couple different podcasts. Evan, if you see this, please don't pull up the jersey. I don't hate your Thunder. I love your Thunder. They having a great season. SGA's having a great season. They're stacked. They're loaded. We've talked. They are going to be in the conversation for the next decade every single year of a team that could possibly win. They can retool every single year with the amount of draft picks they have, whether they retool through the draft, make trades, because they're going to have to make some movement, because at some point you had to pay all these jokers. SGA on the brink of talking about $80 million a year type of contract. So they got some moves to make, but they still going to be in that conversation. But I'm going with Nikola Jokic for MVP. I'm going to just throw out this stat because they both had historic seasons. But Jokic is the first player to finish top 10 in points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game, and steals per game. Points, he was third. Assists, he was second. Rebounds, he was second. And steals, he was second in steals per game. So it's crazy because he actually kind of had a better year than his MVP years. But then you look at SGA and it's like, dang, any other year, this is Nikola Jokic's MVP to walk away with unanimous. But SGA, what he did this year, my Lord, I don't know if anybody can stop that man.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. That's TBD right there.
Exactly. So the fact that SGA had the season that he had, I think this is probably, we'll see. I think I like my history knowing on NBA, but I can't remember. It might have been before my time or during my time, the last time where this is probably going to be the closest MVP race we've seen in a while. I'll say that. I can't give you the exact year or since 1947 with George Mikan. I don't know the last time.
Yeah, no, for
It
sure.
was close, but
for sure. It's gonna be really close. It's gonna be extremely close.
I'm all the people that have votes, all the people in the media that get to have a say in this. It's been pretty 50-50. Some say Jokic, some say SGA. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. Interesting to see them in the playoffs. And the is a great season. 2024, 2025 was a great season. We had the whole discussion of who's going to be the next phase. Isn't enough viewers? Isn't enough streams? And it still turned out to be a top tier season, top tier talent, players showing up every single night, doing their thing. And players like SGA and Jokic could play the way that they played because they stay ready. So they don't got to get ready. Bench mob, we out. Peace.